It's called Squaw Gulch, but we like to call it Echo Valley, and I'll show you why we call it that. Now they say you can hear those whistle blasts from over 10 miles away. Folks used to use whistles like that up here all the time to signify things like shift changes, emergencies, and even fires. And it was pretty effective since you could hear it from so far away. Now if you look way out there in the distance at that very last set of mountains you can see out there, those are called the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. The Spanish explorers called them that when they came here because if you look over those mountains in the sky during a sunset, it's a beautiful red hue. And translated to English, Sangre de Cristo means the blood of Christ. Now looking out across the highway and the clearing in the field down there, used to be a small town called Barry. Now Barry, it was really small. There was only about 200 people who actually lived there, but they were really culture driven. So they had people like movie stars, actors, and singers and stuff would come visit them quite often. And if you were to follow that clearing on around the hillside, used to be Mound City over there. Mound City was also small, about 400 people. In between those two, there was a decent place for people to work. They had two gold processing mills. There was one called the Rosebud, and the other was called the Brody. Now, straight out from the engine, that hillside over there with the yellow and black rock is the El Paso mine. The El Paso mine is as deep as the Empire State Building is tall, which is about 1,500 feet. They did produce around $13 million worth of gold in their time of operation, but that wasn't even the deepest mine up here. The deepest one was actually the Ajax, being 3,350 feet, more than double. That stretch of highway you can see there beneath our tracks is Colorado State Highway 67. It's laid along the original roadbed of the Flores and Cripple Creek Railroad, which was the first railroad to show up in Cripple Creek back in the earlier part of 1894. That railroad was so profitable that it paid for itself in just the first year of operations. But there was a big flood that came through, and it wiped out like 8 miles of their track and trestle and everything, and instead of rebuilding that one, they just paved it into a highway. Now up ahead of the engine, another hillside with the yellow and black rock, and the wooden building that looks like it's just about to fall off the hillside. That was the Chicken Hawk 1 and 2 mines. The Chicken Hawk 1 and 2, they were pretty well known to have like a really warm tunnel system. Their tunnels would stay like 80 degrees year round. And so in the wintertime, a lot of the homeless folk up here, they would catch one of these trains and jump off and go to sleep in those tunnels. And everyone started calling them Hobo Tunnel. Looking up toward the top of the highway, all of that wood for that retaining wall came from the Mary McKinney mine. They wanted to recycle and reuse that wood for something. And then up on top of that hill, that hoist, came from the Dr. Jackpot mine. All right, folks, I'm going to go ahead and back us up now to our next stop called the World's Fair. We'll turn around there. And I'd like to tell you all a little bit about the active gold mine we can see up in front of the engine once we get there. Alright folks, this is our second stop called the World's Fair. If you look on the right side of the engine, you'll notice a pretty large man-made mountain over there. That is the current and active Cripple Creek and Victor gold mine. They started mining back in 1995. Most years they produce between 200 and 300,000 ounces of gold and a little bit of silver and platinum there as well. They have over 800 employees, which makes them the largest employers for all of Cripple Creek and Victor. And even after paying that many people, they still profit just over $500 million each year. That is the largest open pit mine in all of North America. And so what they do there is they'll take all of their ore after they blast it, they'll run it through a big crusher and break it down into small rocks and dirt. Then they stack it up on top of two very thick layers of black plastic. After that they'll run a water and cyanide solution down it, and you can see where they're spraying it up top there. And what that does is it'll separate all of that gold and other precious metals from the rock. Now over on the other side of the engine, we can see Cripple Creek from over here. If you don't have a very good view from where you're sitting, don't worry, we do get a better view as we start moving. But today Cripple Creek is pretty small. It's only got a population of around 1,500 people. Back in the day, there was over 25,000 people living there in Cripple Creek. But as the gold was slowing down and up here and folks had to move around to go find work elsewhere, there were a lot of empty homes left over. And those homes were pretty affordable. They were like $100, $150. And so a lot of folks would come up here and buy those homes. Then they would dismantle them and take all of that material down to old Colorado City to build brand new homes out of it. Cripple Creek was almost the capital of Colorado. It just barely missed it by a few votes. I'm going to go ahead and start moving us towards our next stop, but on the way up this hill on the left side of the engine, you're going to notice a large concrete pad over there. That does cover up the entrance to the World's Fair mine, which is about 1,200 feet deep.